Welcome pilots, my name is Hybrid V and we are back once again to watch your takeoff and landings, and we are here part 2 at Orison of Season 8 finale, and we have Xih coming in with a Drake Vulture immediately right off the bat. Yeah folks, if you haven't seen part 1, the link will be in the description box below. Of course, you'll also see the iCard on the top right as I speak, so if you have not seen that, definitely recommend you check that out now. But let's get things kicked off here. I'm not going to do my normal spiel, let's just go ahead and just get started right away. Alright, let's go ahead and let me get myself into position here. I'm just kind of getting my camera set up here. I literally just took off moments ago and we immediately have Xih here in a Drake Vulture coming in to land here. You can see their lights are on. You can see those about 4 or 5, yeah, about 6 lights on that thing. It's pretty darn bright on that. You can see it right through the hull. One of the weird little things you see with the lights in game, even if you're behind a ship, sometimes the lights still poke through. So hopefully COG can clean that up over time. Definitely would be a better improvement. I also love the skin on this Vulture. I'm not too partial on the yellow skin on the Vulture, the default yellow skin. I like a lot of the custom ones COG have put out there. They're really, really nice. I like the, I think, what is it called? Like the party animal one, I think? I don't remember, but it's the weird, really garish, like pink one. I really like that one. That one on the cutter as well, I believe has one as well. That one's really fun. I just like the idea of just having wacky and weird skins on ships. Because a lot of my military ships, I'll generally have like olive drab, maybe some camo or something like that I'll have as a custom skin. But for the industrial ships, I don't care. I usually just put the most garish thing I can find on there just because it's fun. You can see Xih here is using VTOLs. You can see that glow right there on the arm, on the right side of that arm. That's showing that the VTOL panel is open and VTOLs are active. Although we do have an early gear deployment here as they come in. Once again, as always, I always have to remind the audience here that this style of landing is perfectly fine within Star Citizen, just not for what we're looking for here, which is a cinematic landing. Now they're lining themselves up here. Are they going to do an auto land? No, they're not doing an auto land. I can tell because there's hesitation there. That is not an auto land. That is a nice, easy descent. It's also not quite centered. That's also how you know it's not an auto land, because the moment when you auto land, the ship tries to center itself as much as it can, and then it linearly touches down. Very, very nice and smooth descent. A little bit offset, early gear deployment. However, they did use VTOLs, so I will give them an 8 out of 10 because that is a really solid showing there. I just would like it to be centered and also put the gear down before you come down, right? That always makes things simpler for everybody, right? Well, let's go ahead and see what else we get. Let's move on. All right, we have another light here. We got some kind of like yellowish light that tells me it's another Vulture coming in, and indeed I am correct, a Vulture, this time in default livery. Coming on in. I did not check who this individual is yet, so this person will be a little bit more anonymous. I might choose to check a little bit later, but right now let's just go ahead and focus on this individual as they come in. Early gear deployment this time as well. Vultures seem to be very, very attached to having their gears out early. I don't see the panel, the VTOL panels being adjusted here, so I don't see VTOL being activated in comparison to Xih, our previous pilot in a Vulture there. Remember, folks, that VTOLs do function on the Vulture, and they do give you a little bit more control as you ascend and descend. So it's always important to try to use your VTOLs. Even though you feel like it doesn't do anything, it actually is helping you. It does work. All right, right over the pad, and a nice and smooth touchdown. Slightly a little bit nose forward there, but it's definitely well more centered than, for example, Xih, which was a little bit more off-centered. So we do have a lack of VTOL, a early gear deployment, but an overall buttery smooth landing. That is definitely going to be we're going to give that about an 8 also as well, because I think that really exemplifies what we're looking for here. I just would like to see the VTOLs being active, and that could have been a 9 or a 10 right there. Yeah, let's go ahead and move on. All right, Discord member Yakaji has just notified me that Hangar 4 is going to be the hangar they're taking off from. Let's see what we got here. We have a Scorpius on deck. Scorpius is always a wonderful pick. Lifting up, are they going to gear up here? Nope, they're going to mail slot take off here. Looking good. Are they going to pull the gear up? Gear is coming up, and S-foils in attack position as they roll out into the sky. Very beautiful. Nice, nice flourish. Now, I would like to see the gear up as they have lifted up in the air before they do the mail slot push. You can also keep those S-foils locked inwards too as well, with the actual ability to change your configuration after you've geared up. That's a thing you definitely can do. Excellent work there, Yakaji. So I would like to see the gear actually come up as soon as you lift up on the ground. That would be a lot better for the cinematic aspect, but overall very, very nice. And as they pushed out doing that mail slot takeoff, they decided to pull their gear up as they exited. Very, very solid. I'll give that a 9 out of 10 because it's exactly what we're looking for here, but I would personally like to see the gear come up as soon as you're up in the air. And then, of course, if you want to keep those S-foils locked in, you just do the cycle configuration while you are also pulling the gear up, so that way it doesn't change shape. And yeah, that is definitely a solid. Let's see how they land here. Let's see if they're going to come back and land now. Probably going to get the same hangar here. Now, one of the interesting things you can do is you could go in the hangar with the S-foils locked out, but you can just cycle the configuration to lock those S-foils back in, and then you can land appropriately. Let's see how Yakaji pulls it off here. Let's see. And there you go. Indeed, yeah, they pulled in. They cycled the configuration, pulling those S-foils in, and now they're going to make their way into the hangar. Nice and controlled, no hesitation so far. And then let's see, are they going to pull the gear down before they land? Looking good so far. Gear is now down, and they are clear to descend. And buttery smooth, slightly forward, but, you know, not too bad. I like that. That is really, really solid, especially the cycling of configuration. That's a really solid one. Excellent work, Yakaji. I think that was a phenomenal job. I'm going to give you a 10. Now, normally I would give you a 9 for being offset, but that was definitely really good, especially the cycle configuration. Give you bonus points for that because a lot of people tend to not do that when they fly the Scorpius. They tend to pull the gear early because they don't realize that they can actually cycle their configuration. It makes it easier for them to actually push the wings in. So good work on that. All right, let's move on.
Thank you.
All right, I just took off, and what do we got here? We have a Reclaimer here. We have Puffman 12 flying the Reclaimer, coming in for landing, undoubtedly to sell construction materials here. Let's see how well they perform so far. They are in a vertical takeoff and landing configuration without the gear set. This is exactly what I'd like to see from a nice, smooth cinematic landing here, right, folks? You can twist those engines downwards by just switching VTOLs on. You don't have to have the gears down essentially at all if you don't need to. And yeah, see, you can see for right now, for those of you that are a little bit newer or are not familiar, the VTOL configurations, those main engines are pointed down. You can see there's no little foot pads underneath them, right? This is how you know that the actual gear is not extended here. All right, there's a bit of hesitation. They're kind of hovering, probably could be adjusting their third-person camera here because they're moving very, very slow. So there's definitely some hesitation. We will take points for them. You can see the cargo elevator opening. So apparently Puffman here has got a crew on board, and the crew seems to be interested in checking out this landing sequence here. I'm not going to take points away from that. I think that's pretty novel. Though I will advise you be careful if you do something like that, because that actual cargo elevator can actually hit the ground as you attempt to land here, and that could cause damage to the cargo elevator and cause all kinds of issues. So I definitely recommend that you keep it inside at all times. All hands and feet inside at all times while the vehicle is currently landing. All right, through the air shields now. You can see the lighting change as a result of going through that air shield. Are they going to pull the gear down? Still, gear activation is not set. There is some hesitation, but that is good. That's what I like to see. There comes the gear. You can see the little foot pads extending out. So now they are clear to land. A little bit tilted to the left here. Careful there. You got to roll it out. Roll it out. Ooh, ooh, careful. Left side catches, right side catches, and ooh. They stick the landing, though. It was a little bit rough there. So there's some hesitation. There was hesitation before and when they went into the hangar, and then of course they were offset, and I mean you could just see they're kind of kilted off the set, and then of course as they landed they weren't exactly well balanced there. So I'll give that a solid 7 out of 10. I think that's definitely very good, but definitely could do a little bit of improvement to make that look a lot better. But I'm definitely very happy to see a Reclaimer pilot using VTOLs before they gear down. It just looks overall better, folks, right? You just see how the ship just looks really, really cool when it's in VTOL, and then right before it lands, those foot pads has that beautiful animation as it comes out, right? What do we got here? We have a small hangar opening up, and we have what appears to be a Vulture that has landed. So I actually missed this Vulture landing. It looks like they mail slot landed into this small hangar here. You can see them all settled there in the center of the pad. It could be that they may actually be taking off, and like they have landed here, and then now they're going to take off, and that's why the way they're facing is away from the hangar. But yeah, the doors are closing. Yeah, so this person mail slot landed into that. I didn't see the full sequence, of course, so I'm not going to give them credit for any type of score or anything like that. However, it is always cool to see people do mail slot landings. It's very sneaky, as you can see. All right, let's go ahead and move on. Beautiful sunset. All right, we have a 600i coming in for landing. 600i is a wonderful ship. I don't actually own one. I don't fly very often, but when I do get flown in one, because usually I'm riding with other people who own one, it is actually a really fun ship to be part of. It's a really nice combat effective ship, and it also is very fast for its size. We can see early gear activation here as this pilot is trying to line themselves up for landing here. They got that kind of Vanu Sovereignty style IAE skin on it. Very unique looking skin for an Origin ship. As they're pushing down, nice horizontal plane as they're pushing down, so they might be in third person here, which is probably suggested as to why they are kind of hesitating as they come in here. Hesitation generally means people are probably toying with their third person camera. This does, of course, not make the landing as cinematic as it possibly could be. As they come down a little bit fast there, ooh, easy, easy there, strafe up, and then the touchdown. All right, so they were lining themselves up. Maybe they activated decoupled because they came down pretty quick there. Or maybe they were just applying a lot of downward throttle, or a downward strafe, I should say. And yeah, they came down a little bit too hard there. So early gear activation, some hesitation, and of course, a little bit too quick on the actual descent there. Could be a lot better. I'll give them a 6 out of 10 because there's definitely a lot could be improved with that. And what do we have here? We have a reclaimer off in the distance. Let's see, what is this reclaimer all about? And of course, Orson is a very popular destination for salvagers, simply because you can sell a lot of your material here for a good price. Thufar, the pilot here, has their gear already extended. You can see in comparison to the last reclaimer pilot, right, what it looks like. You can see those little footpads sticking out from the actual engines. And of course, we're going to take points away from that. In Star Citizen, as always, folks, it does not matter. The criteria here does not actually matter. Every landing is a good landing. However, we are looking for cinematic landings for the show. So let's see how well they do. And of course, having the gear out early is going to be points taken away. And of course, there's a lot of hesitation from Thufar here. So let's see if they're going to correct that, if they can come in a little bit quicker, because right now they're kind of hesitating. They're a little bit sketchy. It could be the first time they're flying this, or maybe they're just not comfortable with it. After all, the Reclaimer is a pretty intimidating ship to fly. It is huge. It's massive. It does not like to listen to you, anything that you tell it to do, because of how big it is, right? But if you understand some of the basics of understanding how to fly a bigger ship, in this case using VTOLs to your advantage and whatnot, and learning to keep things level, it's pretty fun to fly. All right, so they are slowly descending, and it's a quite slow descent here. And yeah, we'll keep tabs on them as they go forward. All right, now they're beginning their final descent downwards. It took them quite a while to get to this point, but now they're okay. So there's more hesitation. So okay, maybe I should. Ooh, a little too fast. Okay, okay, I'm good here. Okay, maybe we'll bring it down. No, that's a little too much, a little too bold. Let's bring it down a little bit slower than that. As always, folks, right? Make sure that you have control of your descent here. It looks like Thufar is very timid about bringing the ship down. It looks like they're seeing the ship drop way too fast, and they're trying to overcorrect by applying a lot of upward thrust because they are terrified that they're going to smash into the ground. Be mindful, if your gear is out, it will absorb some of that impact, right? So if you're terrified of the ship actually plummeting to your doom, is if you have the gear out, you may actually survive that. Oh no, but they're not controlling it this time, and it boom goes right nose first into the ground. You can see Thufar lifting back up because they're applying that corrective thrust, but the corrective thrust is always late for the Reclaimer. So if you engage, for example, decoupled mode or whatever, and you start descending really fast, it takes a long time because of the ship's weight to actually correct itself if you start applying upward boost. This is why it's very important that you just, if you're going to use decoupled, or if you're even just using coupled flight, that you, when you start strafing down or you start to release that throttle, that you do it gradually and you don't let it get away from you, right? If you're decoupled, apply some light up strafe, and if you're in coupled, you just apply gentle down strafe, right? Before that landing, there's a lot of hesitation and, of course, an impact at the end there, so I will have to give them a 4 out of 10. Better luck next time. All right, let's move on. Okay, so we have a Mercury Star Runner coming into Hangar 21 over here. Let's see how well they do. It looks like the gear is extended from here. I can definitely see it hanging from the bottom, but I do know that the Star Runner has some busted LODs, excuse me, folks. Oh, trying to be sneaky here, Mr. MSR pilot, pulling the gear up right before they hangered in. I think I didn't notice that. I'm very sneaky myself, good sir. All right, I noticed that. All right, nice. Okay, a little bit of hesitation, probably because they're pulling their limiter back a little bit there, which slows them down. There comes the gear deployment right before they touch down. And a little bit too early there. Yep, there we go. It's a little bit too early. They were trying to time it, you know, when the gear actually came down and when they hit it. And you definitely could do that if you've built enough muscle memory with your favorite ship, folks. You can kind of learn how long it takes just on feeling alone for the gear to fully extend before it catches. And unfortunately, they were just a little bit too quick there, so the gear was not ready to actually be usable and catch at the end there. So we did have an early gear deployment. Sorry, you can't sneak that past me. I saw that. And then, of course, there was some hesitation caused by adjusting the limiter, of course. And then they didn't quite catch the gear. Oh, the 890 is taking off. Looks like they decided they didn't want to actually dock, and they're just going to head out. But anyway, yes, the MSR. So, yeah, early gear deployment, a little bit of hesitation, and of course, the gear did not get deployed fully before they hit the ground. Although that was very, very controlled in their descent, and of course, they were also very well centered. I'll give them a 7 for that, because it was good, it was well-mannered and everything, and how it was lined up and whatnot, and they had the best intention of trying to actually catch onto the pad as soon as the gear extended, which looked really, really cool, but unfortunately, they just didn't time it right. So I'll give them a 7. Normally, that would be like a 6 because of all the hesitation and early gear deployment, but because they were really trying to time it and make it very cinematic in how they were approaching it, I definitely do want to give them a little bit extra for that, so that is definitely going to be a 7. Definitely really good, but could be a lot better. All right, folks, let's go ahead and move on to the next customer, as it seems like things are quieting down for now. Okay, we have a Carrack on approach for landing. You don't see quite a lot of Carracks at Orison here, so it's quite curious to see one coming in from afar. You can see that beautiful silhouette as it approaches. Of course, the Carrack's gear is not down. Currently, there is a desync bug with the animations for the Carrack. You can see those little flappy wings on the side there. Those little shields on the ends of those flappy wings are pointed down, which would indicate the gear is down, but it actually more than likely is not. Like I said, there's some desync issues with it. Let's go ahead and push in so I can kind of show you guys a little bit closer here. But yeah, so those little shields pointed down would indicate the gear is down. It actually isn't. It is completely desynced. As evidenced by this person probably going to be pulling their gear down, you'll notice that those shields pointed down will then teleport so that they were instantly sideways, and then they will animate downwards as they're supposed to. Again, it's just complete desync animations. There's a lot of desync animations currently in 3.22. Hopefully a lot of that will get addressed in 3.23. Look at those beautiful bottom thrusters firing, by the way. Look at those powerful, powerful bottom thrusters firing to keep the ship aloft here. Some hesitation, as I'm assuming the pilot is trying to figure out where they're going to be landing here. I can see the hangar on the bottom right of your screen, folks, looks to be open. That could be their hangar here. It also could be that the LODs are not quite loaded in and the hangar just appears to be open, though I can see them moving that way, so my suspicion is that is their hangar indeed, and they are definitely moving in that direction. Let's see how they do here. You can see now the lights are loading for us here, so that is a definitely opened hangar. It is not a bugged hangar. And they're going to go ahead and line themselves up here. So far, they're keeping things nice and smooth and controlled. Minimal hesitation. There was some in the beginning, but that was because they were trying to find their hangar. That's perfectly fine. I'll leave that out of the grading for now. Let's go ahead and see how they're lining things up. Very nice. So they are strafing to the right, and they are getting themselves nice and aligned. There we go. And then let's see, are they going to descend? Are they going to nose in? You can see those main engines firing, so they are applying some forward throttle here, being very, very ginger as they are coming in, not being too overbearing on the throttle inputs as they come in. Remember, the Carrack is a very, very easy ship to fly, especially in atmosphere, and the reason why is because those beautiful, beautiful, angelic-looking bottom thrusters as they fire, those things are incredibly powerful at holding it up, and it gives it a very strong roll characteristic. It also has very good pitch attitude control, and it also can descend and ascend. Very, very nice for a ship of its size. So this is why it is a very, very nice ship to fly in atmosphere. It's not, the fastest. You're not flying an Arrow here at the end of the day, but what you are flying is something that's way easier to control than, say, for example, a Reclaimer, which can be a absolute chore to try to fly properly. So now it looks like they are trying to line it up above. Could be that they are in third person here if they're trying to go directly above and maybe come down right above it while they are still lined up with the horizon here. So let's see how well they do. And they're still kind of moving slightly forward. Okay, here we go. Now they're descending. You can tell they're descending, of course, because those really powerful bottom thrusters start to lose some of that energy. They start to kind of retract a little bit, which tells you the ship is descending. Now they're holding altitude here, again, probably because they are engaged in third person here. And folks, I've talked about this in the past before. If you're using third person, not only does it not look as cinematic, but I also recommend it, or don't, I should say, recommend it from a technical aspect for landing, because one of the problems it can introduce is, well, for one, we're all on flat panel screens here for the most part, and one of the issues you'll have with a normal flat panel screen is the lack of depth perception. So when you're in third person, it's hard to see which parts of the ships are closer to the hangar than others. This is why I always recommend you try to practice in first person and get a good feel for how it is to fly the ship in first person, and try to land in first person, because you'll get a feel for the size of the ship and which directions you need to be in to kind of squeeze the ship in the side. And when you're in third person, you lose all that information and you end up running into issues where you end up colliding with stuff. So this person is probably using third person. Let's see how well they do as they're descending. Looking good so far. Oh, and a little bit of clipping onto the side there. And now the turret is hooking into the right side, folks. This is exactly what I was talking about, right? It looks like everything is lined up when you're in third person, but the problem with third person is that depth perception issue. So as they're lining things up, they thought they had it good, and then as they started to descend, they didn't notice on that right side that they were a little bit too close to the hangar here. One thing I'd like to point out, though, however, is this individual has, of course, not pulled their gear down yet, so they are trying to pull off a nice cinematic landing here, but unfortunately, a little bit of contact with the side there. So they were doing really, really good, but unfortunately that contact with the side is going to cost them a point or two there. So here comes the gear deployment now, and they feel like they are nice and set. They're still holding altitude. They don't need to hold altitude at this point. They look like they're pretty well lined up. Looks like they're kind of trying to do a couple of corrections here, probably adjusting their third person camera just to be certain here. And here we go. Now the descent, and they should butter that nice and smooth, assuming they are lined up with the horizon. Nose front contact first, and there we go, back contacts as well. So very, very nice. You can see the actual attempt there at a smooth landing, but overall not quite what we're looking for. So we have some hesitation. Of course, we have some contact with the hangar, and then additional hesitation when they were inside the hangar. So overall, that's going to be a 5 out of 10. I probably could bump it up to a 6. Actually, I think I will go with a 6. But I have to make sure I take points away for contact, because contact is crucial. We have to make sure that we're not making contact with the hangar, right? We don't want to damage the ship. We want it to look smooth and cinematic, right? When Han Solo lands the Millennium Falcon, he doesn't bump into everything on his way in, right? That's kind of like the criteria we're going for, right? So yeah, I'm going to revise that from a 5 to a 6, just because this person was attempting to do a smooth landing here. Also, we have what appears to be a spirit landing here. So they were attempting to do a smooth landing, a proper cinematic smooth landing. Ooh, nice mail slot. Let's see, can they get it? Oh no, and they collide with the doors as on their way in. Gear comes down a little bit late there, but they do catch onto the pad just in time. No VTOL activation as well, though, folks. So that is a little bit disappointing to see. You can see the mail slot landing did cost them a little bit there. You have to be careful. Remember, the Spirit is a very tight squeeze in those small hangars, folks. So yeah, I'm gonna give the Carrack a 6 out of 10. I'm gonna be a little bit more generous because they do deserve it for at least making the attempt. And then for this Spirit, we do have a little bit of contact with the hangar and no VTOL usage, so I'll give them a 7 out of 10. The gear deployment was a little bit awkward there, but they did manage to hook onto the pad right before things went a little bit south there. So they did manage to get it before the before the animation finished and caused issues. All right, I think this is going to be a good spot to end things. I'm going to go ahead and end this part 2 segment here and upload the rest later, and then we'll have part 3 on the following day. Folks, if you did indeed enjoy the video, please leave a like, as it really does help out the channel. And of course, if you want to see more videos like this and much more, be sure to subscribe as well. But until next time, fly safe, because you never know who might be watching, and I'll see you all in the black.
Jumping in 3, 2, 1, go.
The cruise